Picture this. You just finished 5 years of study, 2 student loans, 3 existential breakdowns, and a handful of group projects where you did all the work while everyone else mysteriously vanished. You walk out of graduation feeling like a warrior. You survived. You earned it. You're ready for the world. And then you open your laptop. A single AI takes the job you studied half a decade for in 10 seconds. No coffee break, no anxiety, no missed deadlines, no "sorry I'm late, my train broke down." It just does it. Calmly, perfectly, smugly. That's the moment the ground tilts. It's not just your diploma trembling in your hands. It's the entire belief system you grew up with. Study hard, work hard, succeed. Suddenly the world feels like it pressed fast forward while you were still writing your thesis. And the terrifying question hits you like a slap. If a machine can learn faster than you, cheaper than you, and never procrastinate, then what exactly did school prepare you for? It gets worse. Remember the kid in class who never revised, always forgot his pencil case, and used to ask, "Is this going to be on the test? In every lesson?" The eternal canker. The one you secretly hoped life would humble. Well, he just typed a question into ChatGPT and became Einstein in 5 minutes. He's building an app. He's freelancing. He's talking about passive income and neural networks. And you're standing there with your framed diploma, wondering if you missed a memo. Because the question isn't, will school change? The question is, has everything we were taught already expired? That's where our story begins. Right at the fault line between the world school promised and the world artificial intelligence just delivered. In this episode, we're about to dig into the biggest academic plot twist of the 21st century. We'll see whether the diploma becomes a fossil from a lost civilization or a nuclear-grade weapon in a world drowning in machine intelligence. Whether formal education is collapsing or mutating into something stranger and more powerful. But before we unzip this Pandora's backpack and find out what's really inside, subscribe. If school collapses, this channel might become your new degree. Now hold on tight. To understand whether school survives this revolution, we need to go back to the moment it was created in the first place. To understand this crisis, we have to go back. Not to the internet, not to the first computers, but to the 19th century, the age of steam and factories. That's where modern school was engineered. Rows of desks, bells dictating every movement, fixed schedules, one adult speaking, 30 children listening. Silence equals reward. Improvisation equals trouble. It wasn't education, it was calibration. The mission was simple. Build identical workers for identical tasks. Factories needed discipline, not imagination. They needed repetition, not curiosity. School became the training center for the industrial world, a behavioral assembly line designed to produce humans who fit neatly into machines. Or, as one historian put it with a straight face, school was basically a training camp to become a very polite cog. And for a long time it worked. This model built economies, bureaucracies, and middle classes. It produced clerks, accountants, typists, factory operators, the entire human engine that powered the 20th century. It was stable, predictable, almost comfortable. Then the world it was built for quietly disappeared. Factories automated, offices digitized, jobs became fluid and chaotic. The economy shifted from repetition to creativity, from obedience to adaptability. Suddenly the world no longer wanted identical workers. It wanted flexible humans who could learn, unlearn, and relearn every month if necessary. But school didn't change at the same speed. It kept the rouse, it kept the bell, it kept the same rituals, the same structure, the same mindset. It kept preparing children for a world that no longer exists. And that's when AI arrived. A machine that never gets tired, never gets bored, never forgets a lesson. A student who never misbehaves, and a worker who never slows down. AI is everything the industrial school system spent 2 centuries trying to produce. The perfect learner, the perfect performer, the perfect cog. Except now, it replaces the entire machine. So here comes the twist. If school was designed for machines that don't exist anymore, what happens when a new machine shows up and learns faster than everyone? Here is the uncomfortable truth that no one wanted to say out loud. The first jobs shaken by AI were not the ones everyone expected. It was not the factory worker or the cashier or the delivery driver. It was the elite. The people who spent years mastering difficult skills. The ones who thought they were untouchable. Architects watch AI generate flawless renderings in a few seconds, with lighting, texture, and structure so precise that entire offices stop breathing. Lawyers witness instant case analysis that condenses 1,000 pages into a single decisive insight. Doctors see diagnostic suggestions that arrive before the patient even finishes a sentence. And programmers discover entire blocks of clean code appearing faster than their morning coffee can cool. It creates a strange sensation, a mix of admiration and panic. Because for the first time in history, the most educated workers are not competing with humans. They are competing with a machine that learns faster than all of them combined. And here comes the cruel little joke that no one can unhear. AI does not replace you. It replaces the best student in your class, the one who ruined the curve, the one you secretly hoped would fail at least once. Except now, the curve itself is gone. As the machine climbs to the top of every academic ladder, even the most prestigious diplomas begin to tremble. The student who spent years becoming an expert suddenly stands in front of something that absorbed the same knowledge in a minute. The balance of power shifts. The world that rewarded excellence now has a new definition of excellent, and it is made of circuits. So a more unsettling question rises quietly beneath everything we have seen. If AI beats the top of the class, who wins in this new world? The self-taught rebel who adapts instinctively, or the super-educated genius who must now learn how to outrun a machine? Something strange is happening right now, almost quietly, as if the future were updating itself in the background. A new kind of human is appearing. Not a genius, not a prodigy, not someone who spent years in libraries breathing dust and stress. No, a hybrid, a human boosted by AI. This new learner doesn't follow the old rules. They don't wait for September. They don't need a professor to validate their curiosity. They don't fear the complexity of a subject because they have an assistant who never sleeps, never judges, never loses patience, and never says, "We'll cover that next semester." They learn 10 times faster, sometimes 100, because they're not learning alone. You see it everywhere now. A teenager opens his laptop and studies criminal law with the precision of a junior attorney, guided step by step by a tireless algorithm. A delivery driver spends 3 weeks chatting with a model and suddenly understands software architecture well enough to build his own app. A retired woman, bored after 30 years of routine, launches an online business with a chatbot as her silent partner, designing logos at dawn and analyzing market trends at noon. The barriers that once protected knowledge are collapsing. Degrees no longer gatekeep. Teachers no longer hold the keys. The library has been replaced by a glowing rectangle that answers everything in real time. And the humor writes itself. With AI, even someone who can't assemble an IKEA chair can code an app. The playing field is not just leveling, it's tilting completely. But beneath the comedy lies a quiet revolution. For the first time in human history, anyone can become almost anything as long as they can type a question. The child who struggled in class is suddenly ahead of the curve. The adult who thought they were bad at studying now absorbs concepts at light speed. The world no longer divides people between the smart ones and the rest. It divides them between those who use the machine and those who fear it. Yet this explosion of learning hides a deeper confusion. Never in the history of education has knowledge been so abundant, and never has direction been so fragile. What do you study when every skill is accessible? Which path do you choose when every path is open? How do you build expertise in a world where expertise itself keeps shifting under your feet? Learning has become infinite. The time to choose has not. That's the paradox of our era. A fountain of knowledge pouring faster than we can drink, and a rising anxiety that says you're always studying the wrong thing. The future is overflowing with opportunity, and somehow that makes it harder, not easier. So the question becomes impossible to ignore. If knowledge is no longer scarce, and learning is no longer privileged, what becomes of the old symbol that once ruled everything? What happens to the mighty diploma? For more than a century, the diploma ruled the world like a sacred artifact. People framed it, worshipped it, trusted it the way sailors trust a lighthouse. It promised stability, safety, social status. It was the shortcut to respect, the passport to adulthood, the shield against uncertainty. But something essential has shifted, slowly at first, then suddenly. There are simply too many diplomas now, too many degrees, too many identical certificates held by people with wildly different levels of skill. When everyone carries the same badge, the badge stops meaning anything. Scarcity evaporates and the symbol collapses with it. The diploma becomes what it fears most, a souvenir from a world that no longer exists. Employers feel it first. They don't care about the paper anymore. They care about what you can do in the room, right now, under pressure. The interview becomes a test. The test becomes a simulation. The simulation becomes a battlefield where your 5-year degree offers no protection. You arrive proudly with your transcript, and the recruiter slides it aside like yesterday's news. Show me how you think. Suddenly, the paper feels thin in your hands. Because yes, a master's degree today is like a Nokia 3310, legendary, but not very useful in combat. Still, not every diploma collapses at the same speed. Elite schools survive, but not because their teaching is extraordinary. Their classrooms are not radically different. Their knowledge is not unique. What keeps them alive is gravity, networks, reputation, access, social capital. People don't buy education, they buy belonging. The real product is the community, not the curriculum. But here is the part most people get wrong. The fall of the diploma does not mean the end of learning. Quite the opposite. It means learning becomes brutally important again. Not as a title, not as a badge, but as a discipline. Because in the age of AI, the people who win are not the ones who stop studying. They are the ones who study harder, deeper, and more strategically than ever before. AI does not replace effort, it punishes laziness. Used poorly, it turns humans into docile operators, passive, dependent, interchangeable. Used properly, it becomes something else entirely. A multiplier, a private tutor, a tireless coach. For the first time in history, anyone can carry a personal Aristotle in their pocket. A mentor available day and night, patient, precise, demanding, but only for those willing to work. The difference is discipline. Those who learn how to ask better questions, how to use tools like learning modes, reasoning assistance, and structured feedback will grow faster than any previous generation. Those who don't will slowly disappear behind the interface. The future does not belong to the smartest, nor to the most credentialed. It belongs to those who learn how to learn with the machine without becoming its obedient shadow. That is why the skills that survive the rise of AI are not the ones schools spent decades teaching. They are the ones the system barely acknowledged at all. Intuition, creativity, strategic thinking, emotional subtlety, leadership under pressure, the ability to navigate ambiguity without sinking. These used to be the secret advantage of the human mind. Except even that boundary is starting to blur. Recent studies show something unexpected. In medical consultations, in psychological support, in delicate announcements of diagnoses, AI is sometimes rated as more empathetic than real clinicians. Not because the machine feels anything, but because it communicates without fatigue, without ego, without impatience. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't judge. It doesn't project its stress onto the patient. The robot therapist never checks the clock. The diagnostic model never sighs. In a strange twist of irony, the machine often behaves more human than the human. So even empathy, once the final fortress of humanity, is no longer guaranteed. The machine is learning our soft skills faster than we expected, and sometimes better than we wished. It listens with infinite patience. It responds with perfect tone. It adapts with eerie precision. But it still lacks one thing. It does not live in the chaos we face. It does not feel urgency or fear or the heat of a decision made when the rules collapse. It can mimic empathy, but it cannot carry the weight of consequence. It can advise, but it cannot take responsibility. It can guide, but it cannot take the fall when everything goes wrong. And that, for now, is where the line holds. Not between educated and uneducated, not between degrees and no degrees, but between humans who know how to use machines and humans who get used by them. So the academic debate dissolves into something far more unsettling. If the diploma is fading and the surviving skills are the ones school never truly taught, then the question changes completely. Do we still need school? Or do we need something entirely different? Here is the truth we have been circling since the beginning. AI knows. AI learns. AI executes. It absorbs knowledge in seconds, masters skills in minutes, and rewrites entire industries before most people finish breakfast. It studies faster than the brightest student, remembers more than the greatest scholar, and never stops to doubt itself. That is the new reality. And in that silence, one final question rises like a small flame that refuses to die. If the machine can learn everything, what is left for the human? The answer does not come from textbooks. It comes from the unease we all feel when the world accelerates faster than our expectations. School was never meant to train us for a single job. Jobs vanish, rules dissolve, skills become fossils. The true purpose of education was always something deeper. It was meant to forge a mind that survives the storm, a curiosity that refuses extinction, an identity that can rebuild itself when the ground shifts. The future does not need people who memorize answers. Machines do that better, faster, without fatigue or doubt. The future needs people who know how to search, how to explore, how to navigate oceans of information without drowning in them. People who understand that asking the right question matters more than reciting the correct formula. It needs minds capable of reframing problems, of stepping back when the obvious path collapses, of rewriting the question itself when the old one no longer makes sense. Because progress rarely comes from following instructions. It comes from noticing that the instructions are outdated. In a world shaped by AI, intelligence is no longer about knowing. It is about orientation, knowing where to look, knowing what to ignore, knowing when to trust the machine and when to challenge it. The winners will not be the most knowledgeable, but the most adaptable. Not those who wait for certainty, but those who can stand in front of the unknown and say, without panic or illusion, let's begin. And strangely, that brings us back to something more ancient, more physical, almost embarrassingly human. In a world that moves too fast, real education starts with taking care of the machine you live inside. Eating in a way that gives you energy, sleeping with intention, moving your body like it matters, protecting your attention as if it were the last natural resource, thinking clearly, breathing slowly, caring for the people you love before the algorithm steals the moment. In a century built on noise, these habits are not soft skills, they are survival. Because no matter how powerful AI becomes, it cannot feel awe when the sun rises. It cannot tremble before beauty. It cannot panic or fall in love, or hesitate in the face of something it does not understand. It cannot carry the burden of being alive. That weight is ours, and strangely, it is also our strength. So we stand between two worlds, the old education built for stability and the new era that demands transformation. The machine learns at the speed of light. We must learn at the speed of life. And now the question comes to you. So tell us, do you still trust school, or do you trust your ability to learn faster than the machines? See you soon for another strange and dangerously fascinating exploration of the science shaping our future, right here on Crazy Science Stories.